Welcome to Encouraging Missions with Pastor and Missionary Phil Winfield. Pastor Phil has a simple passion with a clear purpose, inspiring churches, encouraging missionaries, and strengthening the body of Christ.
Phil Winfield here again, and we are Encouraging Missions with Phil. And this is a little podcast we do about every other week, and we do monologues, and we talk about interesting subjects. We talk about things having to do with churches, their people, how to create a culture of missions in the church, and then also we love to get in contact with missionaries. We love to go visit them, serve them in any way we can. And today I have the privilege of having Dan Arce with me. Dan and I go way back. He is a good friend, and he is serving in Venezuela and has been there for quite some time. So we're going to get right into it this morning, Dan. Let's start with that. We'll talk about the earthquake in a little while. We'll get to that part of it. But right now, just tell us about your family. Tell us about, why Venezuela? How did you get there? And so on. Tell us about your family first.
Well, my wife, Lucy, and I have been married 28 years. I've got three sons. Michael, who is 26. He's married with his wife, Julie.
Yep.
Brian is 24. He's about to be engaged soon. And Andrew, my youngest, 20. Yeah, he's 20.
Yeah.
And him and his girlfriend are doing incredible. All five of us are serving the Lord here in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And I guess it all started when God called my grandparents. They followed the calling. Now God called my parents. They heard God's calling. And the place that God called them was here in Venezuela. And so I came here when I was 9, first time. I didn't know Spanish. I didn't know the culture. Didn't know what an arepa was. So I didn't know anything. I do remember clearly. Just a few months after arriving, everybody was hugging me and kissing me, like out of the blue. Nobody I knew anything, and they just kept saying, "Ano, ano, ano, ano." I had no clue what, and I was like, "Dad, why are they hugging and kissing?" And all my other two brothers, they were kind of like, hiding with mom. And he says, "Son, they're saying Feliz Año, which means Happy New Year." And here everybody just greets and meets and hugs and kisses everybody out on the street. It's fun. I've parked my car. Wow, Feliz Año. And they run up to me, hug me, and I get back. I'll go, "Isn't that wild?" And it's just a fun experience. But that culture, the people, their heart, the way they are, I guess it captured me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I became in love with their culture. I became in love with the Venezuelan people. And God began growing a love for this people, for this country in my heart. And it became a reality. And just about the time when Chavez came in and everybody was taking their suitcases and leaving because of communism, my heart felt the opposite. And I'm not calling myself a hero, nor am I calling others cowards. As a matter of fact, maybe if it had been a different situation, I had probably done the same thing. But God wanted us to be here. And I now understand why, because we were in some of the weirdest, most difficult, most strange moments this country has ever lived through. And God allowed us to be here as a large family who has now multiplied into many other families. And I'd say between our family, there's been over 100 churches established in this country. And I praise God for that.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Well, for our people's benefit out there, let me just ask you this. It's a simple logistical thing. Exactly where are you? What city are you in? And, is that a department or a province? And, in relation to Caracas, for instance, where is it?
All right. Well, they don't do provinces or nothing. They do municipalities, and then there's cities and states. And matter of fact, most people know their city and their state. Most people don't know their municipality. We live in a city called Cabudare. Mm-hmm. It's a twin city. It mixes right beside Barquisimeto, which is the third largest city in the country. So you've got Caracas, you've got Valencia, and then you've got Barquisimeto. So Barquisimeto is the third largest city in the entire country of Venezuela, and we're the twin city right beside it, which is a very small city. But it is about 45 minutes or 5 hours to Caracas. So almost a full 5 hours traveling on road to Caracas.
Okay. Okay. Is this mountainous terrain or not so mountainous or?
Well, most of Venezuela's got mountains.
Yeah.
You've got large mountains, and you've
Mm.
just got regular hillside and smaller mountains.
Yeah.
And so, Barquisimeto and Cabudare, both, we've got beautiful
Mm.
mountains that people go hiking, climbing, biking, and so it's really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country. But
I
there is
know.
mountains pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. I know you got a famous waterfall there. Not
Oh
the.
yeah,
What's the name of that?
largest,
Angel.
highest one in the world, Angel Falls.
Angel Falls. I thought it was. Yeah. I've
Yep.
seen pictures of it. I've never seen it. Maybe someday the Lord will let me come.
The
Okay.
indigenous name is Churumeru. That's what it's called in Indian,
Churu
the original.
Chirumaru.
Churumeru.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's shopping centers and shopping malls called Churumeru out of honor of the Angel Falls original name.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the kind of ministry that you have and how you're engaged, and just I know you've been there a while, so just give us a thumbnail sketch of the ministry that God has given you there.
Well, let's see. Lucy and I, we graduated Bible College in 97, got married in 98, and came to Venezuela in 99. That was probably the three most active years in our lives. Oh, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
And from then on, we've been here in Venezuela from 1999. We started a church plant in the year 2000. And our main focus was always church planting.
Okay.
And but I was imitating a lot of what my dad did, which was very, very, very effective, I might add. And it was the concept of not going, starting one for 5 years, taking off, starting another for 5 years. And I know it's worked in other countries, maybe other cultures, including myself.
Right.
But Dad did something that I liked, and I dug inside his brain a lot. I asked him a lot of questions, and obviously he was one of my teachers in Bible school as well. So what we did is we started a church, and what we did, we started a Bible college in our church. So every local church we've started has started a Bible Institute.
Oh.
And by doing so, we're automatically training our men. Now, I took it a step further and I started doing the following. I said, all right, let's train our men and women, and then let's launch our men and women with a launching team. So we'd launch them off to a town that maybe God's calling them. And
Right.
Pastor, I feel this need. All right, let's go. And I'd always go with them. We'd see what's going on. Ooh, I like it. Ooh, wow, this town
Okay.
has no church. Or there's a lot of Catholic churches, or there's a lot of witchcraft huts and whatnot. Let's do something about it. So we do vacation Bible schools. We do sporting events. We would attract a crowd. By doing so, we present ourselves as we're a Christian community. We want to start something here in the house of whoever we've led to Christ for the first time there in that little town or city or whatever. And in doing so, we go back. And for the first 4 years, our church supports that missionary 100%. No, he doesn't have to raise the support 100%. In the meantime, we're starting to ask him to start raising support just as a missionary and locally, all locally. And we've had churches sometimes say, hey, we want to help some missionaries. Boom. So we'll divide, they'll send $300 in a month. Okay, we divide that up into so many people. So it's really awesome. And because of that, our first church plant started through it. We did 7 other church plants. So there was 8 church plants in 11 years. So that was to me much more effective than just me going out and doing it all. So
Yeah.
now in this church plant, we've been here for 13 years. 12, 13, yeah, 13, yeah, I believe 13. Good gravy. My mind's playing games on me.
Time goes
And
fast.
we started in 2014. So 26, yeah, we're 12 years old.
Yeah.
And now this time we haven't done as many local church plants. Now we've actually gone abroad. So we now have a church in Colombia. We now have a church in Mexico. And we do have one in the jungle ministry. And that's been one of the hardest ones because jungle was really, really difficult, especially with the communist government and whatnot, and how they're
Right.
trying to control everything. So,
Yeah. Oh,
so we've been
goodness.
doing a lot of church plants, and
Well,
God has been incredible.
so but, that's kind of that's kind of the Jesus said go make disciples, and what the disciples
Correct.
heard, what the disciples that he told that to heard was go plant churches, because
Correct.
planting you make disciples, then they're automatically they're encouraged to congregate, and so congregate means make a church. So that's awesome, man. I'm so glad to hear that. That's wonderful.
Parallel to church planning, we have camp ministries. We do this next week, we start Vacation Bible School, and we'll be doing that for 5 weeks straight in a row. And we do that every year. So it's incredible. We do men's camp.
So that's five different groups for a week.
No, our entire church goes gung ho. Everybody. Now, there may be a few families go, I can only help in 2, I can only help in 3. But we have the full amount of the church.
Okay.
A good 85% of the church is heads on in the VBS, and we do massive Vacation Bible School.
Okay, what I mean is that there's a different group of kids each week, though.
Absolutely. They're different parts of the city.
Right. Gotcha. All right. That's cool. That is really, really awesome. So let me back up. That was a microscope look. Let's back up for a telescope look, and let's look at just the country as a whole. In the book of Acts, Paul liked to talk about, or the writer of Acts, which was Luke, liked to talk about the progress of the gospel. The word of God grew and multiplied. So how is the church, or the church planting and the gospel progressing in Venezuela as a whole?
It was never difficult to preach here in Venezuela, because Venezuela has been a very faith-based country. And even though it's predominantly Catholic, they still believe in Jesus Christ. So it's not a I don't want you to talk to me. Now, it is a little bit more common today. You've got a lot more atheists this time of year. But the thing is, Catholicism here is really mixed hand in hand. And I don't know how common it is in other places, but in Venezuela, it is heavily mixed with witchcraft. Just 30 minutes away from here, if I hopped in my car right now and drove 30 minutes, and I crossed the state line from Lara, which is the state we live in, to Yaracuy, there's about 10 to 11 massive statues of demon goddesses. One is called Maria Leonza, El Negro Felipe, Philip the Black, the Indian Guacaipuro, and these are all witchcraft gods, and you'll see massive statues of them sitting boldly naked on top of dantas, or animals, and on the way up to an entire mountain. And when I say mountain, this is a big mountain, and it is always, every single day, every single night, it is covered entirely with a black cloud. I mean, you see all the white clouds, beautiful mountains, black cloud, then you continue with the white. And that black cloud and that mountain is fully dedicated to witchcraft. I'm not kidding you. They still do human sacrifices there, animal sacrifices every day. They have levitation. They have people cutting themselves with glasses, eating glasses, stepping on fire, walking on fire, and then the
government
away.
The government knows about this.
The government goes there to be blessed. Every single government has said, we need they're very political, even with their faith. So they're witchcraft believers to the witches. They're Christ believers to the Christian church, and they're Mary believers to the Catholic Church, and all the saints believers to the Catholic Church. They're Chavez and now Maduro, who's gone now, they were both very ambiguous when it came to what they believed. They believed in the Indian New Age Dalai Lama and all those kind of gods, and then they believed in Catholicism, and then they brought the Christian church. And when the Christian church talked about virgin, that's wrong. But then the next day he was over there in the Catholic church going like this. Then they'd go up to the mountain, and they filmed these things. I've gone up several times with pastors and leaders, and I even took some missionaries up there once. And I mean, they were blown away. They're like,
"Oh my goodness,
this is weird stuff."
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. I mean, everybody out there, and primarily our podcast goes to pastors, to mission committees, to people in churches that are really in tune with missions, and also to a lot of missionaries. So the big thing in the news that everybody's been hearing about is the earthquake, and I know that. Officially there's like 5,500 that are dead, but the reality is probably much more, like 15,000 people that have died. And then who knows how many are displaced and stuff. But you guys, from the very first, in talking to you earlier, you guys got involved right away and tried to get relief. And you were really, really impressed by your own people in Venezuela, how they kind of chipped in. So, just what did that look like? The church, and I know that your area specifically didn't get hit head on, but you were able to help the surrounding areas. So, tell us what that looked like.
Well, it was Wednesday, June 24th at 8:30 in the morning. I'm in a meeting with about, I'd say, 19 pastors and anywhere between 12 to 15 citywide leaders,
Mm-hmm.
between bankers, companies, all non-Christian leaders of the city.
Yeah.
And we had all been called in by a gentleman who runs an organization. Him and his boss run an organization in the state. I think it's called Project City. I'm don't quote me. I'm saying it wrong. I know, because I'm translating from what I heard it's called in Spanish. And basically, this organization is one of the 5 city organization companies that Donald Trump uses when he needs to deal with fixing up a city in the States. So he calls Project City, calls this, and all these people are advisors to Trump when it comes to city management and whatnot.
Okay.
So they're trying to do this in Latin America, especially Venezuela. They're realizing what's happening. Maduro's gone. This Delcy lady's about to be gone. Democracy is going to be kicking in gear and in Venezuela. So we met that morning, the day of the earthquake. We met with him, and he met with Christian leaders and city leaders. And he said, listen, it's time we start rebuilding this city. And I want 2 cities. We need Caracas and Barquisimeto. So that's it. How important this twin city we live in. It's very, very popular.
Mm-hmm.
And that same day, this guy met with us at 8:30 in the morning, then hopped on a plane at 2:30 in the afternoon, flew out to Caracas, and was going to be meeting with Maria Corina Machado, who is the prime candidate to become president. She's what they call the Iron Lady. She's been at the White House. She just won the Nobel Peace Prize,
Oh yeah.
all kinds of stuff. He was meeting with her team that evening at 6:30 when the earthquake happened.
Oh
So we
no.
were all here, actually very alert, waiting to hear about the meeting that this guy was going to have. I was on a motorcycle traveling because I was going to go pick up some things and come back. I almost got knocked off my motorcycle, and everybody, my wife was here at the house, and she felt the house was going to fall apart. It was crazy. Within 12 hours, we're already seeing the devastation, the amount of deaths. I mean,
Mm.
La Guaira is a city that was not built on solid rock,
Mm-hmm.
but on sand. It's
Mm.
right beside the beach.
Mm.
The airport, the biggest international airport in Venezuela is in La Guaira.
Mm.
And so it just, the amount of devastation, the airport was almost obliterated. And it's just so much death right now.
Wow.
To the point that we had our team, my son is an EMT, he's a paramedic, and he works with one of the greatest companies here in the state with paramedics and EMTs and ambulances, and he's actually trying to turn this into a full-time ministry. And we want to help churches. We want to help people train and be prepared for these things, of all things. So 12 hours after this incident, my son and his team were feet on the ground in La Guaira. God, by miracle, I mean, I kid you not, we had about $300 collectively between all of us on June 24th. And I'm talking in 6-7 hours, we had close to $3,000 worth of food, medicine, goods, even repairs on the ambulance. And they were sent down, and they were down there. And my son came back almost 2 weeks later, just devastated,
Mm.
psychologically traumatized.
Yeah.
I spoke to Mexican, French, U.S. Rescue workers, and they said this is probably the worst earthquake catastrophe we've seen because of how unprepared the city was. And
Mm.
that's why we're debating the death toll, because the government doesn't want to admit they failed miserably.
Yeah.
It's close to 15,000. But till today, Pastor Phil, I kid you not, there's
Mm.
body bags on the streets. And I want to say this as prudently as possible. There's larvae all over. You'll see
Wow.
bundles of larvae, just
Mm.
mounds. And when I
Mm.
mean mounds that would make up the strongest person gag.
Mm.
And it's just rotting flesh, rotting people. You'll see an
Mm-hmm.
arm here, you'll see a leg here, half a torso there, half a set of legs. There has
Mm-hmm.
been more suicides just this month in La
Mm.
Guaira of people that have climbed up, found something that's still standing, and just
Mm.
jumped off and said, I can't handle my wife, my son, my daughter, my kids, my
Mm.
parents. They all died.
Oh my.
We're working hand in hand with pastors, and several pastors said, Pastor, we lost half our congregation. Many of them said, we lost half our congregation. Boom, right there, right off the
Oh,
bat. Half the building
wow.
just collapsed and they died.
Well, tell me about. I know you guys did a lot of stuff just right on that very day, but you're still working now. You said something about some making some beds. What's that about?
Well, the first response was to help with water, food,
Right.
medicine, the immediate,
Right.
emergency aid stuff, non-perishable goods.
Yeah.
But now we had these people eating, drinking, being hydrated, but then they had to go to sleep every night. So nobody
Yeah.
wanted to go back into their destroyed houses because
Mm-hmm.
any movement would continue collapsing and crackling the houses.
Yeah.
So everybody's sleeping out on the streets, on sidewalks, solid concrete or dirt. And we started seeing, man, they don't have anything to cook food in. So we started
Mm.
buying pots, pans,
Mm-hmm.
cups, plates,
Mm-hmm.
silverware, plasticware.
Right.
But then we started seeing, all right, let's get mattresses. Oh goodness. Then it rains and the mattresses are soaking wet again the next
Yeah.
day. And we're like, okay, these folks need beds. So I came back to our church and I said, guys, in some areas we could only go in motorcycles. That's how bad the devastation was. No car could get there. So we went up there. We saw the disaster. We saw the needs. We asked the community. We said, what is one of the biggest things you need? They said, we're not looking for anything fancy. We need beds, like bed frames to put our mattresses on, because
Mm-hmm.
we could put a tarp we can cover ourselves with, but it protects us from a snake or a
Yeah.
spider.
Yeah.
I'm like, it just dawned on us. So we came back and we said, hey babe, my wife just got in. We said, let's build beds.
Yeah.
And we have started raising the funds. And each bed with the mattress, with the sheets, with the pillows is around $220 each bed. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're making double side beds and we're making bunk beds.
Mm-hmm.
And so each bed we make is always made for two people,
Yeah.
either two side by side or one on top of each other. And for kids, for parents, so far right now, we've built 26 beds, and we did that with I think $1,500. We just almost tripled that amount right now. So we're going to be tripling the amount of beds we've got. So we're going to be reaching easily 100 beds that we're making just in the
Wow.
last 2 weeks.
Man.
And we're all making them, turning them around, loading them up on the trucks, and taking them out. Hand
Mm.
delivering. We hand deliver everything we do. Donations we receive, money received, we go out. We've bought body scanners, heat scanners, so rescue workers can find bodies under the
Mm-hmm.
rubble.
Mm.
We've bought inverters. We've bought emergency lamps, equipment, medical equipment, Pastor.
Mm.
Medical equipment that's cost us $11,000. We bought it. We purchased because everything in the clinics and hospital there was destroyed. I mean,
Mm.
everything was smashed. So nothing was working. Entire
Mm.
clinics have been turned on because we've been able to buy them inverters for the clinic and the hospitals to be
Yeah.
activated again.
Hmm. Wow. Well, man, that's admirable to just it's one thing. The initial response is always food, water, blankets, clothing, those kind of things. But
Yeah.
that for people who don't have anywhere to lay their head, that's difficult. So, hey, we just so thankful for God using you that way to help those people. So. We're gonna have to bring this to a close here in just a minute, and I was gonna say that just if we get to this point, ministry in general and missionary ministry can be difficult. I know there's pastors out there that can talk about difficulties they've had from time to time, but you faced lots of stuff down there in the last few years. You've had you were there during Chavez and his strong arm and taking it into a socialistic, communistic sort of a country. You were there during the COVID event, and then you had the migrations, and then you had the Maduro heavy-handed stuff, and you saw a lot of people just leave the country totally. I mean, I know they did. They showed up in Lima, Peru. I met them, and they really had been through a lot. But you guys stayed through all of that, and so what word of encouragement do you have for people? Knowing that things can, whether it's being a pastor, being a missionary, knowing that things can get really difficult. What word of encouragement do you have for people that are thinking about vocational ministry? I'm talking about,
Mm.
they feel like God might want them to be vocationally. In other words, I'm not just going to take a little foray of a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
mission trip and go do my mission thing and come home, but rather, hey, I believe God wants me to give my life to pastoring or to being a missionary. What do you got to say to them? I mean, you guys have been through a lot of difficulty and you keep going. So what do you have to say to those people?
Well, here's something that's interesting. I grew up in Venezuela as a missionary kid, an MK,
Mm-hmm.
but there was at least other 15 missionaries when we got here, or during the time that we were here, that eventually came in as vocational missionaries.
Right.
And 99% of the kids of those missionaries are not in ministry today.
Mm.
They're all back home in the States doing secular jobs, started a company or started working for Walmart. I don't know. And how can you grow up in a country doing ministry to then just wake up the next day and go back home and say, you know what, I'm just going to get a regular job and I'm not going to do that anymore. I realized that my parents, from a young age, they made us part of their ministry. They never secluded us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, this is the American home, and we're going to go. Daddy and mommy are going to go out and work with the Venezuelan people.
Mm-hmm.
No, Dad took me and eventually started taking my brother Stephen with us to 5 o'clock in the morning prayer meetings, and we were there. We were there on our knees listening to men pray. And the first the first months we didn't understand what they were saying. By the end of the year, we were ones praying, and I was 9 and 10 years old. So Dad and Mom always made me part of everything. So I've done the same thing with my three boys. All three of my boys work full time with us in the ministry. Sunday school teacher, music, you call it, you name it, they're doing, and everything they do, even in their secular jobs, is for God's glory. They're pointing towards church ministry somehow. So I never secluded ourselves. I've always made myself accessible to the people and vice versa. So being here with the people wasn't like a job, it was family. It
Mm-hmm.
was the people I wanted to be with. It wasn't like the church I went to and then came back home to what I want to be. No, this house has been full of at least 100 people almost on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
And in our backyard, and we'll sit and we'll talk. And I've got one table here, one table here. I mean, they're not the prettiest tables, but they're sturdy and strong. And we have people sitting here. I've surrounded myself with people that love me, and I love them back. And I used to be told the Nationals will never understand you and the way you think, and so don't expect them to understand your culture. They do understand my culture, and I understand their culture. We've been able to grow and become best friends, and my best friends today are here in Venezuela. And
Mm-hmm.
the people that I love and I work and I grow with, they're here in our church. And I've always surrounded myself and my kids with the godliest people. And you know what? That's what kept me going on through the roughest times. And I was literally seeing missionary friends saying, "Hey man, we love you. We got to go. Things are rough." And I'm like, "But what about the church? What about?" So we ended up going and helping some of these ministries that were left without their pastors or their missionaries.
Mm-hmm.
That's why our jungle ministry became so difficult, because so many missionaries left the jungle that our one guy in the jungle has been church hopping, helping all the churches that were started, but then the pastors left or the missionaries left. And we have surrounded ourselves with people that love us, that
Mm-hmm.
became our friends. And
Mm-hmm.
so staying in difficult times, you've got God's word, his spirit living in us. So our family is constantly encouraging. We're not trying to talk bad about the circumstances we live in. Our home is a safe space. We can talk about things that scare us, that frighten us during
Mm-hmm.
COVID, during the regime changes. We would have meetings, and I'm like, guys, what do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
And I would ask our kids freely, say, guys, if you think it's time for us to head back to the States, just give me a nod, give me a hint, wink an eye, just let me know. There's no shame
Mm-hmm.
in saying I'm scared. And
Mm-hmm.
every one of us would say, I'm scared, but I think we've got a job to do. And we're here today. I mean, we're making plans to go back to the States next year, but it's not like we're gone from that. We've had a few trips where we've had to release stress and cry, and
Mm.
we'd stay up at 6 o'clock in the States thinking the power's going out, and people are like, "What are you waiting for, Pastor? Power's not going out, right?" No. Oh, that's right. I'm in the States. And you realize how psychologically
Yeah.
adapted you are to continuous disaster or continuous
Mm.
stressful situations.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
going down the aisle in Walmart will make us cry sometimes just because you see so many
Abundance.
types of cereals and drinks, and I'm like, I forgot Fruit Loops had 5 variations. With marshmallows, without marshmallows, with diet marshmallows. This will kill
Yeah.
you fast, and this will kill you slower. I just all the crazy stuff you go into, and going back to the States every time is just almost a culture shock because we got to adapt to all the technology, all the different things. People change, people evolve, families
Yeah.
grow. Our little friends we left are now grown adult,
Yeah.
married.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just there's just so many things going
Yeah.
on. But then when we come back, we got to spend a few months adapting back to,
Yeah.
driving like a nut.
So let me ask you this. You think God's still calling people to go from one place to another, go from here to there, to leave a place and go to a place in order to carry the gospel? You think he's still doing that?
No, I think it'll never stop until the Lord comes, and that'll
Yeah.
be the final stop.
So we got to
And
go,
even
right?
when he comes, he's still going to send out, the two witnesses, the 144,000
Yeah.
missionaries.
Yeah.
Missions is never going to stop until God establishes his new kingdom on earth. And
Mm.
I think we should never take a week off if you need to,
Yeah.
but don't pause ministry because the devil's not stopping. And by
Yeah.
God, can I emphasize that Satan's not taking a day off to break. He's
Mm-mm.
not taking a week off or a month off. He is
No.
nonstop working, and
Yeah.
so should the church.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I think we got a lot to think about. Thank you so much for the way that you guys are serving. It's just kind of heartwarming to hear about your continual efforts to try to help the people. And I know it's physical, but a lot of times physical aid does open up hearts. And I know you guys are trying to help those
Amen.
folks over there in that earthquake area. Thank you for
Yes.
that, and thank you for taking time to be with me. You folks that are listening out there, this is Encouraging Missions with Phil, and we appreciate you listening. And check the subscribe button down there because there are a lot more editions of this that you can look up, and there will be more coming. Hope to go to Portugal before the end of the day and talk to somebody else. So God bless you guys. Dan, so good to see you. Hi to Lucy and to all the boys, and you guys just keep on keeping on for Jesus. God bless.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast to hear the next edition of Encouraging Missions with Pastor and Missionary Phil Winfield.